Here.
Melissa Hunt.
Here.
Louis Williams.
Here.
Adam Webb. Mark Ham.
Here.
Glenn Lewis.
Here, would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I have a proclamation here to read, and this is on Red Ribbon Week. This is whereas Red Ribbon Week, which will be celebrated October 23rd to the 31st, is one of the largest national drug prevention programs in America. Today, the Red Ribbon has become a symbol for drug, alcohol, and tobacco abuse prevention all across America. And whereas Red Ribbon Week addresses two of the greatest challenges in the drug prevention: one, debunking the false perceptions about drug abuse, and two, encouraging sound life choices. And whereas Red Ribbon Week provides an incentive to motivate parents, law enforcement personnel, and community organizations to continue to educate and intervene in drug abuse. And whereas our school system will have activities each day supporting the fight against drug abuse. And whereas on Saturday, the 26th day of October 2019 at 10 a.m., a Red Ribbon Parade will be held with the theme, Send the Message, Stay Drug Free. Now, therefore, I, Glenn Lewis, Mayor of Moore, do hereby proclaim the week of October 23rd through 31st, 2019 as Red Ribbon Week. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I serve on the Red Ribbon Committee, so we appreciate
Thank you.
council recognizing that week. And it'll be a great day on Saturday, so come on out.
Saturday's the parade, right?
Yes.
Okay. What time does the parade start,
It
Mark?
starts at 10 in the morning.
10 o'clock.
I think
Okay.
there's 60 floats in there.
60. Wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot this year. You know, last time I think I went, it was snowing. Hope it doesn't snow.
Me too.
It'll be good.
It's always a little chilly.
It is. It's always chilly for some reason. Okay, item number 2 is a consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting held October 7, 2019. Item B, approve a correction of typographical error in the heading of ordinance number 27700 from C4 Planned Shopping Center District to C2 Neighborhood Commercial District to accurately reflect the ordinance rezoning application and council approval. Item C is approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2019-2020 in the amount of $3,337,090.45.
Are you done?
Yeah,
Make a motion to approve.
thank you. Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. It is a consent docket. Would you call for the vote, please?
Jason Blair.
Yes.
Melissa Hunt.
Yes.
Louis Williams.
Yes.
Mark Ham.
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item number 3 is receive a presentation from Emily Pomeroy with the Center for Economic Development Law regarding the possible creation of an urban renewal authority for the redevelopment of Cleveland Heights Edition.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Emily Pomeroy. I am a lawyer with the Center for Economic Development Law. We have been working with the city manager on exploring the tools and mechanisms available under the Oklahoma Urban Renewal Law, and whether the city of Moore would like to explore the creation of an urban renewal authority. I'm here today to talk a little bit about what that would look like, try to respond to any questions that City Council may have, and then get your direction on how we might move forward. So Oklahoma's urban renewal law is established by state statutes. The Urban Renewal Authority is a separately created entity. It's an entity created by state statute, but it cannot exist or operate unless specifically directed by a municipality pursuant to an approved urban renewal plan. So a municipality is the only way under which an urban renewal authority can be activated, and the only way that an urban renewal authority can be authorized to act. The statute lays out what the urban renewal law, what powers the urban renewal law provides the urban renewal authority, and specifically what powers it provides the city, and what the urban renewal authority can do on behalf of the city. It's not a public trust. The city is not its beneficiary in the public trust sense, but it can only act on behalf of the city and pursuant to the city's direction. The urban renewal law is under Title 11 of Oklahoma statutes. Again, it's trying to provide a tool for the city to use in order for a city to authorize activity by an urban renewal authority. It must specifically activate that urban renewal authority and appoint a 5-member board of commissioners, which we'll talk a little bit about the specifics of that body here in a moment. An authority cannot operate under the tools of the act unless and until the city finds that certain blighted areas exist within its municipality. We'll talk in a minute about what blighted area means. And then that the city chooses, it must find that it chooses to utilize the tools of the act. And we'll talk a little bit about what the tools of the act are. The purpose of the statute is to help cities redevelop challenged areas and promote private investments in those distressed areas. To the Board of Commissioners, which is the entity that would operate under the tools of the urban renewal law. There are some specific requirements under this urban renewal law for who may be a commissioner on the Board of Commissioners. The mayor appoints those individuals. There are 5 people that sit on the board. This body would approve those commissioners from the mayor's appointment. The mayor would designate a chairperson and a vice chairperson. Those members on the board of commissioners may not sit on any other city public office. So it's an interesting exercise for a community to determine who may be a good individual to help carry out the city's purposes through the Urban Renewal Authority. There are some personal interest disclosure requirements. Our firm has served as the general counsel to several urban renewal authorities across the state, including the Oklahoma City Urban Renewal Authority. We've utilized a specific form that we can provide for commissioners to disclose their personal interest and then help, along with your city attorney, make the determination whether they must recuse from voting on particular items based on any disclosed personal interests. The statute provides that the Urban Renewal Authority may employ an executive director. In some of the communities that we serve, that person is often the city manager. The authority may determine whether it has legal counsel. Oftentimes that's the city attorney that serves as legal counsel. Sometimes our firm serves as legal counsel. It's up to that body to choose who it wants to fill that role. Again, the Urban Renewal Authority is working on behalf of the city pursuant to an approved urban renewal plan, so there's close coordination through annual reports and regular communication so that this body knows what that body is doing on its behalf. So if the city chooses to move forward pursuant to the urban renewal law, there are specific statutory steps that it must take. The first is to activate this new body. Again, that's done through the mayor appointing 5 commissioners and this body approving those commissioners. It's done by the city specifically finding that blighted areas exist within its municipal boundaries and activating that urban renewal authority. In order to create an urban renewal plan for a specific area, it's wise to undertake a planning analysis with your planning departments and your city manager and input from all of you about an area that may or may not be appropriate for an urban renewal plan. If an urban renewal plan is designated for a specific area, that area must be declared blighted under the statute. The statute lays out a long factual definition of what is determined to be a blighted area. It says that the area must meet one or more of the following factors and lists out many factors. Anytime an urban renewal plan is adopted, we first undertake a very detailed factual analysis of the area to figure out whether it meets that definition. That's really important, particularly if acquisition is authorized under the urban renewal plan, because if property is acquired pursuant to condemnation or eminent domain, then that property owner would have the right to challenge the ability of the urban renewal authority to take that property under eminent domain. It's legally settled law that condemnation for the purpose of blight removal has been authorized and confirmed by Oklahoma Supreme Court. But we want to make sure that we're properly documenting blight so that we can prove to the court, if the right to take is challenged, that the area, this body has properly determined that area to be a blighted area. So should the city choose to continue, we would want to do blight analysis. Then the city council may consider a resolution that specifically finds that area to meet the definition of a blighted area. And then pursuant to that, an urban renewal plan would be created for that specific area. An urban renewal plan is adopted only pursuant to specific notice requirements that are provided by the statute, including publication, the posting of very large signs in the area that's being declared blighted, all of those notice requirements, just to make sure that the public is fully aware of what the city is considering undertaking. The Planning Commission must hear the consideration of an urban renewal plan, and the City Council must hold 2 public hearings where it hears from the community about their reactions to the creation of an urban renewal plan. An urban renewal plan can specifically authorize properties for acquisition. It can specifically authorize redevelopment obligations pursuant to property being disposed to private entities. So it's the entire package, both the acquisition and the disposition of property, in order to remedy blight. That's the important component of the urban renewal plan. The statute lays out what an urban renewal authority can and cannot do. Again, the urban renewal authority is acting on behalf of the city pursuant to a specifically authorized urban renewal plan. It's the city that adopts the urban renewal plan, so it's your document. The authority is just helping implement it. That document will authorize the authority to act on behalf of the city. Again, the urban renewal authority can acquire property for the purpose of blight remediation, can provide assistance to people that may be displaced by the acquisition of property. Every urban renewal plan by statute requires that a relocation assistance program be implemented into an urban renewal plan. So that just makes sure that just compensation is provided, and if someone is, for example, displaced from a home, then the authority would help them relocate to a suitable home for the number of family members in that house. There's specific rules that we would recommend guidelines that the urban renewal authority adopt and follow. So there are certain things that are specific in the statute that the authority cannot do. The authority cannot declare an area blighted. That's what a city does. The authority cannot adopt an urban renewal plan. That's what the city does. The Planning Commission and the city make zoning changes. That's not the job of the urban renewal authority. And the urban renewal authority cannot appropriate funds. So that's one of the challenges that communities often face when they are considering the establishment of an urban renewal authority, is front-end funding sources to help make these things happen that the city might want to happen in a blighted area. So communities do that differently. The Oklahoma City Urban Renewal Authority has existed since the early 60s, and it received federal funds. That's not a funding source that really exists for communities anymore. So communities are exploring creative ways to try to implement some of these programs that can help redevelop challenged areas. So if the city wanted to move forward with an urban renewal plan, we would consider it part of our job to help you explore ways that this community might be able to do that. In fact, the city manager and I have already been having conversations about ways that that might be available for this community. So another challenge that's often faced by an urban renewal authority is creating development sites. You know, oftentimes urban renewal plans will specifically authorize property for acquisition with the goal of consolidating a redevelopment site and then getting it out there for private enterprise to develop so that it's on the tax rolls, making money, making sales taxes, you know, all the things that the city hopes to see in properties that are otherwise stagnant. So that consolidation of land can be a challenge, can be difficult, but the urban renewal law provides tools that can allow that to happen. So that's one really strong power that the urban renewal law has, as long as we are working within a properly declared blighted area and pursuant to a properly adopted urban renewal plan, then we have this flexibility to try to consolidate property, issue a request for proposal to see what kind of development interest there is in that site, and then try to get that property back on the rolls. Just one other comment on the statute requires that the Urban Renewal Authority dispose of property for no less than fair value. That's a statutory term, and that can often be depressed from fair market value, depending upon the obligations for redevelopment that the authority might place on a redeveloper. So it might be willing to sell property to a redeveloper, but it would say, you have to build apartment units here, and we're demanding that you build 80 apartment units. That could depress the value in such a way that it makes it a more attractive or a more feasible project. If he can purchase the property for less value, then he can invest more into the project itself. So that's an interesting little kind of statutory quirk. One funding source to help repay whatever front-end funding sources we have would be the disposition of property. So the Urban Renewal Authority will have the balance of trying to maximize what it can get, but also make sure that those properties are developed. That's an interesting balance that we find our urban renewal authorities operating in. But at the end of the day, the goal is to make sure that property is developed in a way that the Urban Renewal Authority and the city wants to see. Oftentimes there are urban renewal plans that are in such a very specific area that the city can really easily define. We want this to be a subdivision with a commercial strip here and here. Or, we want this to be more dense housing units with first floor retail. And it's those kind of things that the Urban Renewal Authority can help push along with the help of private investment in specific areas. So that's an overview, not specific to an area here and more, but I'd be happy to talk about the urban renewal law generally or how it might be applied in one or more of your communities, or really respond to any questions that might come up.
Approximately how much does this cost?
So we put together some front-end estimates on costs. Of course, the acquisition of the property is a massive unknown. We just simply don't know what that will cost. It will consist of negotiating with property owners, potentially going to condemnation. I think all of that, I wouldn't even hazard a guess. We have talked with the city manager about some front-end costs about what our services would be to initiate an urban renewal authority and adopt an urban renewal plan. Luckily, the city planning department and community development department has done a significant amount of legwork on an area that the city may want to declare blighted. So a lot of that legwork has been done, and I've reviewed that document, and I feel strongly that a blight declaration can be made. So in terms of cost, that would be built in. I think that we estimated, was it $45,000 to activate an urban renewal authority, and make the blight declaration and adopt an urban renewal plan. So that would consist of the planning analysis with your city team, the preparation of documents, coordinating with your city attorney, and proper notices and agenda and public hearings. And so that was our estimate on that.
Anybody else have any questions?
If this were created, this one I understand what the benefit would be. And I feel confident what this council would want to possibly, be able to use that for work. Well, and you indicated that there are strict laws and guidelines and what can be considered blighted. Just because there's I would hate for us to get into a position where there are older businesses and we want something new there. I would hate for that to be something that we might consider eminent domain or consider to be a blighted area. Is that something that this could be used for?
There's significant flexibility in the definition of blighted area, so I am, grateful for your caution in, how this community might want to use that, because that can cut both ways. There might be a need to, for a city to consider declaring an area blighted, but it does not have to acquire all the property in that area, right? So there can be, targeted acquisitions. So if we're able to develop the parcel next to the business that's maybe older and struggling, that will help that business's property values and will help that business hopefully have more customers because of what's next to it. I mean, I'm obviously making that up. But just because property within an area has been declared blighted does not mean that it will be authorized for acquisition. And even properties that are authorized for acquisition does not mean that they will be actually acquired. A lot of it depends on funding. A lot of it depends on that site consolidation that I was referring to earlier. There may be a need to acquire a corner of an important intersection so that something can happen there, but that does not mean that everything next to it or beyond it would have to be acquired. I think there are definitely communities that would not slate for acquisition any existing business or home, with someone living in it. I mean, I've worked with many communities that simply won't authorize that for acquisition, and there are, of course, good reasons not to do that. So that would be something that, per your direction, we'd be very conscientious of.
On this particular piece of property, the city actually owns 30 to 40% of those properties, and there's another developer who owns close to half. And he says he's purchased every home out there with the exception of the 2 little apartments on the corner. But he owns basically most all of it. So would that make it easier for us to do? We have no businesses to condemn out there. There's no businesses up there whatsoever.
Right. So my examination of the area that you're speaking of, there are, I think, maybe 5 structures at all, in the entire quarter section. So I think, we would want to be deliberate on, for example, if we did acquire those, we would want to make sure that we have relocation policies in place and to make sure that those people that are displaced are, put into hopefully better situations than they're in now. And so all of that would be wrapped into the guidelines and parameters under which the Urban Renewal Authority would be operating.
Okay. I think the next thing we have to do is figure out how to come up with $45,000. So, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, there's monies available in the budget that could be allocated to this if the council decides to go ahead and create the authority. So that was in the current year's budget. It was anticipated that this might happen. So
Okay. Good deal. So, Randy, what do we do? We don't need to make any action on this item?
No action tonight.
Okay. All right. So we'll have to put it on as a different agenda item, bring it back.
Okay.
I guess. Yes, we'll talk.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you very
thanks,
much.
thanks.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the presentation.
Very informative. Okay, item number 4 is consider adopting resolution number 93419, amending the accounting manual in regards to placing certain utility accounts in a non-collection status effective upon approval and remaining in effect until modified, amended, or repealed.
Mayor and council, we're getting ready to upgrade our utility billing software, which will require us to import all our utility customer information into our new version. In reviewing the customer accounts, we found 838 final utility accounts going back to 2001 that have a balance due to the city of $10 or less, for a total of about $3,000. Many of the accounts have a past due balance as a result of their deposit being applied to their account and the deposit not completely covering their final balance. The collection company we use will not accept anything under $5. The cost of our staff trying to collect these small amounts would exceed the revenue we would collect. We would therefore like to establish a policy per Resolution 93419 to allow us to place these accounts in a non-collection status on an annual basis. Be glad to answer any questions you might have.
So tell me your explanation of a final account.
Final account is
So this means that the folks have moved away?
correct. They are no longer the account holder on that utility.
Is there any way, if they were to move back to reestablish utilities in our community, that we could try to collect that?
Yes, yeah, we could definitely, if we find that they've returned, go back and apply that balance owed to that account.
I'm just excited we're going to get on Windows side.
Want to make that a motion?
I make that a motion.
All right.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? If not, would you call for the vote?
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Louis Williams.
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item number 5 is consider authorizing the budgeted purchase of 18 hard drives for police department body camera evidence storage from Davenport Group in the amount of $18,000 off state contract number SW1020D.
Mayor and council, this is for hard drives and hard drive cabinets for the body cameras. We currently store about 120 terabytes of body camera storage, and then we have that redundant, so about 240. We are nearing capacity of that currently. So this would be to add to that, would add about 35 terabytes of data to what we currently have.
How long do we store the data?
So we have a 90-day retention policy for the body cameras, but that's for your everyday, everything is stored for 90 days. After that, we store it depending on the type of case it is. And I'm not sure what those,
Okay. So we're just not storing all of it forever?
that's correct.
Just
So if it's been flagged as something like a DUI,
Yeah.
that, you know,
go to trial.
but then they get flagged,
Okay.
and depending on what type of offense it is,
Right.
that it still means that, yes, those, like a DUI is stored for, 2 to 3 years, because that's how long it takes to get to trial. So it does add up as you go through time, that those, the data adds up.
Make a motion to approve.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you both. We have a motion. Any other comments or questions on this? If not, would you call for the vote, please?
Louis Williams.
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt.
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item number 6 is consider approval of plans and specifications for the new Aquatics slide feature for the Station Aquatic Center from Water's Edge Aquatic Group, and authorize staff to solicit bids for construction of said slide.
Mayor and council, this item is to approve the final plans for the budget of new aquatic slide feature at the Station Aquatic facility. from Water's Edge Aquatic Design and authorize staff to solicit bids for construction. This is a unique speed slide for the metro area that's 32 feet in height and approximately 260 feet in length. This would be a great addition to our aquatic facility, and staff asks you to approve this item. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
It'll be open next year?
It'll take about 7 months to construct, so our plan is to have it open before the season or shortly thereafter.
Our funding source for this?
It's part of the 2000, the quarter cent sales tax.
All right.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? If not, would you call for the vote?
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Louis Williams.
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item number 7 is consider acceptance of a quote from SWAB Wagon Company in the amount of $22,120 for purchase and installation of an animal transport body and equipment for the animal control vehicle.
Mayor and council staff recommends approval of the price quote from SWAB in the amount of $22,120. It's for the animal transport body, and it'll be, that unit will be installed on the truck chassis that was approved at a previous meeting.
Okay.
When do y'all hope to have that in service?
It's probably gonna take about 2 months.
Motion to approve.
All
Second.
right, thank you. Thank you both. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? If not, would you call for the vote, please?
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Louis Williams.
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Thank you. Item number 8 is consider approving the addition of 5 steps to the top of each pay grade of the salary table approved by the council in 2016 and authorizing its full implementation in order to provide a majority of the non-union employees with an appropriate and timely merit increase for the FY20 as provided in the city policy.
Mayor and council, with the pay scale that was approved in 2016, and even with the older pay scale in effect before that, you get to a point in your employment with the city to where you're basically topped out as far as your pay goes and are no longer eligible for a raise. This adds 5 additional steps to that, and for the current fiscal year that we're in, it affects 15 employees with a budget impact of $10,000. We feel that this would be a useful tool for employee retention. Recommend approval.
Okay?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? If not, would you call for the vote?
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Louis Williams.
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we will recess the city council meeting and convene the Moore Public Works Authority meeting. Item 9 is the consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Public Works Authority meeting held October 7th, 2019. Item B, approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2019-2020 in the amount of $591,900.40.
Motion to approve.
Second. Thank you. Thank you both. We have a motion and a second. As consent docket, would you call for the vote?
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Louis Williams.
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we will recess the Moore Public Works Authority meeting and convene the Moore Risk Management meeting. Item 10 is also a consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Risk Management meeting held October 7th, 2019. Item B, approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2019-2020 in the amount of $115,425.27.
Motion to approve.
All right, thank you. Thank you both. We have a motion and a second. Is a consent docket. Would you call for the vote, please?
Louis Williams.
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we will recess the Moore Risk Management meeting and convene the Moore Economic Development Authority meeting.
Would you call the roll, please?
Danielle McKenzie, Jason Blair,
Here.
Melissa Hunt,
Here.
Glenn Lewis,
Here.
Adam Webb, Mark Ham,
Here.
Louis Williams.
Here. Item 12 is consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the Moore Economic Development Authority meeting held September 16th, 2019.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for this consent docket. Would you call the roll, please?
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Louis Williams.
Yes. This time we'll recess the Moore Economic Development Authority meeting and reconvene the city council meeting.
Thank you. Let the record reflect all the members are still here that were here present before. Item number 13 is new business. Item A is citizens forum for items not on the agenda. There's no one signed up. Would anyone like to speak? Okay. Item B is items from the city council or trustees.
So Councilman Ham and I have gotten quite a few calls about the Oxford House that is set to go in the East Hills addition. And so I think we just wanted some questions answered kind of on the record so citizens would know. And I know we've gotten a statement from Randy, from the city attorney about fair housing, and that has something to, that these people need a place to live, and I certainly agree with that. My concern is it's really not just a place for them to live. It's a treatment facility. I mean, you have staff on hand, you're meeting, holding your meetings at that location and all that, and so does that fall into a residential situation? The fact that they live there and they sleep there and they get up and go to work, that's not a problem at all, but it appears to me anyway that it's a treatment facility rather than a residential setting.
Met with the Oxford House people, and when staff on hand, when I think of staff on hand, I think of traditional staff on hand, like medical staff, like a doctor or a nurse or something like that. That's not the case at these places.
Okay.
The staff on hand is I can't recall the title of the person, but it's the manager or it's the leader or someone like that, and it's someone
That lives at the house?
That lives at the house, that's been in the program and basically is there to mentor and instruct the other residents there to help them in their treatment and their assigned daily tasks and things that they're supposed to do. And then all of the residents there also, I believe once a week, they go to another Tri-Cities for additional treatment. And so these places, they have the landscaping and things like that are done by a third-party contractor, so the residents are not responsible for that, to maintain the houses so that they continue to look nice. The residents that are there are supervised by someone that does live in the house and is not a medical professional or someone, but someone that actually has been through the program and has, see if I can get the term correct, has demonstrated sobriety for a period of time, and so that's why they're the team leader, like, for lack of a better term.
How come these don't fall under multifamily housing?
That was my question. That was kind of what I was wondering as well. And again, I think a part of the neighbor's concern isn't the type of people that are living there where they understand that they're going through struggles and they need a place to live, and we want that. It's how many cars are going to be there and what disruption to the neighborhood there is the concern.
And what we were told is that there's probably once a week that there may be additional cars there because they have a meeting once a week there at the residence, and so people from other facilities can come and attend. People from the neighborhood can come and attend. It's an open meeting, so it's not closed to anybody. And so if anyone wants to see just actually what happens, they're certainly welcome to come.
So this is an AA type meeting?
Yeah, yeah. So additional cars there in the residence and parking will happen, but it will happen on a temporary basis.
Well, so I'm just trying to anticipate some of the questions that we may get in response to your answer. So there are some staff or some people living there that are being compensated in some way, that are the team leader or the house manager. So it is their job to be there, and if they're having weekly or monthly meetings, I think that a counselor, a trained counselor, is coming in to conduct and hold those meetings. Is there, so I mean, It just sounds a lot like a business. Is there anything that the city can do to help monitor or regulate, to ensure that they're being operated in a safe manner? Or is it just basically a house, like I would rent a room out to a friend, and, you know, it's really not the city's business if I'm renting a room out? Is that what
No,
this
there's
is
a,
like, or-
there's a process that they go through in order to be placed in these houses. So, it's an interview process, and so they don't just, you know, show up. So they go through that. The city obviously is interested in enforcing city codes and making sure that, that those are followed. The Oxford people, represented to us that, that these houses are safe, and they have very little problem, where law enforcement needs to be called, and gave several examples of that. And also there are 2 other Oxford houses that have been in Moore for some time, that I learned about the other day. And I did ask the police to look into that and see if there have been any problems at those residences, and the answer was no.
These residents will be female.
Yes.
And it's alcohol and drug addiction
Right.
type, so it's not
Right.
any, yep.
The 12-step, if you haven't ever been to a 12-step program, an AA program, they're really not run by a
Right.
person. It's a group thing. It's very structured. It's impressive.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, that answers my questions. Like I said, it was more just, we've had a lot of questions, and we wanted to get out there to folks, anybody that may have a question, that we think this is gonna run smoothly and should not affect the neighborhood too much.
And just the last part, that I have one person posed to me is, and it could be in misinformation, you know, how things get going, but they said that they also thought there were some assisted living centers, people operating their home as an assisted living center for senior adults. Is there, would this fall under the same category, or is that a business, or is that just a homeowner caring for an elderly person? Randy, what kind of businesses, I know we do see an ordinance that will allow some businesses to be ran out of a person's home. Are you familiar with that off the top of your head? Sorry to just drop it on you.
Well, first off, they would have to, you know, we'd have to have that location, and, see whether or not they are running an assisted living center. But I think your definition under an assisted living center is going to be different than the type of definition that allows Oxford houses or residential treatment situations. They're just different operations under the definitions. So, you know, if you have a residential setting, and you have 10 or 12 in there in an assisted living type situation, that's different than where it falls under the Fair Housing Administration, those amendments, and treatment of the people that would be in an Oxford house, because their definition is different than the definition of assisted living. Assisted living people have a different definition than people residing in an Oxford house.
so
Okay, goes
the
back to-
residents at an Oxford house do not pay to live there. Is that true?
Yes, they pay $125 a month.
They do.
That's what I was told.
Okay. Well, that's,
But
I don't know if they're-
why would that not be considered multifamily? Because they're not related.
Well, that goes back to the definition of, you know, under the law, that's no different than 10 college people renting a house.
Or if I had a roommate or
and
something,
living
yeah.
together as a roommate. It's no different than,
But somebody else owns it. Now, if we had a fraternity house and they're renting rooms, it would fall under multifamily.
no.
It wouldn't? If you had
It'd
10
be
college
shot.
kids living there?
Because you got one residence. Multifamilies, you're gonna have like apartments and things.
Okay.
Your definitions of family have changed a lot.
Obviously.
That's true.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Melissa and I attended with Brooks today, ribbon cutting out at the new park, and Chris did an excellent job on that park out there, and it was dedicated. Nancy Lieberman's foundation did a really nice basketball court out there for us. We put the slab in, and you guys got to go see this park. This is actually our park. This is the one that this council funded, and it looks great. Toby Keith was out there and cut the ribbon today. So he drew quite a crowd, and all the kids from Kelly Elementary were out there watching it, so I think everybody had a good time. So, see?
It's a very unique basketball court,
Yeah,
pretty
it's
fantastic.
really
So
unique.
definitely go check it out. It's Parmalee Park.
And any kid in town can go play on it, so it's good. So appreciate the work that they did. Appreciate their support of the city too.
I would just have one comment, Brooks. Sometime before the end of the year, can we get an update on the RTA, the Regional Transit Authority, the trust that was created, and they've been meeting for a while, and I'd just like to hear, I know that we know kind of what the routes are, but there were some, I think they were calling them pinch points, some areas that may be a struggle, and that they talked about funding, and I know this council, when ACOG was here, we talked a lot about bus service, and that's been an ongoing comment that I've heard. And so are they discussing that at all, or is it just what? I would just like to hear from our representative, or if they can't make it, somebody that could give us an update as to what's going on.
No, Councilman Ham, that's in the plans to have that update. Right now, the meetings are revolving around negotiations with BNSF, and then they'll be able to take the next step after that. But yes, that's in the plans for a future council meeting to have an update.
Before the end of the year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, anybody else? Any items from the trust manager?
Few things. The mayor and council, last Friday night, we had the Trail of Horror, and it was a very successful event. 500 tickets were available, and it sold out, so a good time was had by all. So appreciate the park staff for their hard work on that event. Also last week, had coffee with a cop at the McDonald's there on 4th and Eastern, and that also was a successful event. My understanding is McDonald's has just recently obtained the licensing to this, so as it goes on in future years, hopefully we'll have be able to promote it a little more and have larger turnouts and more community interaction. So appreciate the police department for their work on that. Last town hall meeting for the 1/8 cent sales tax proposition is this Thursday at Oak Ridge Elementary. Would encourage our citizens to come out, and there's some good information. And then also there will be several videos regarding the sales tax that'll be on YouTube and our website here in the next few days for get your information that way. So appreciate the council members that have attended those meetings, and hopefully we'll have a good turnout for this last one. That's all I've got.
Okay. Thank you very much. Item 14 is adjournment. So moved. All right.
Second.
Thank you both. Would you call for the vote, please?
Jason Blair.
Yes.
Melissa Hunt.
Yes.
Louis Williams.
Yes.
Mark Ham. Glenn Lewis.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
No, I don't know what happened. I looked at it earlier.
Yeah.